This is Caitlin, your host of the NoSleep4Dramas podcast, where we get no sleep and survive on coffee to watch just one more episode at night. Yes, you read that correctly. I am finally doing a review on this drama. I feel like it's been forever, and this was highly requested for a review, so I'm glad I've gotten to it before next year, because God knows I have a lot of those other dramas that people have requested for reviews that I still even have to click play on. But if you guys want me to review another drama, please DM me or comment or get in touch with me and let me know what dramas you want me to watch and review, and I will get to them eventually. So yes, you've read the title correctly. We are reviewing a Chinese drama today, and it is Blossoms in Adversity from earlier this year. I am slowly working on getting to those dramas. I mean, I have Chinese dramas from a couple years ago I should have watched by now, but hey, at least I have Chinese dramas to watch. I watch old, I watch new. I might not watch them while they're airing, but I get to them eventually. A lot of people loved Blossoms in Adversity when it aired earlier in 2024, so I knew I wanted to check this drama out. I like both the leads, and I was liking what people were saying about the drama. So I wanted to check it out for myself. I wanted to form my own opinions. I wanted to give it a rating. Was it a perfect drama for me? No, it was not a perfect drama for me, but I can see why this drama was getting a lot of love when it was airing, why a lot of people were talking about it, so it definitely had some things going for it. So what are we going to do in this review? I'm going to introduce the drama, I'm going to read the synopsis, I'm going to introduce the actors and actresses, I'm going to give my overall review of the drama without spoilers. All of this is going to be without spoilers. Then I'm going to give a spoiler warning. And then after the spoiler warning, I'm going to talk about everything I loved about the drama, go into detail, go into spoilers for the drama. And then I'm going to talk about what could have been better, in my opinion. And lastly, I'm going to give my score for the drama and close out this episode. So, first up, I'm going to introduce this drama. This is a Chinese drama. It aired April 2nd to April 25th. There are 40 episodes. It's a Youku drama. So the synopsis I wrote down, this is something I summarized from the MDL. Synopsis of Blossoms in Adversity. One day everything's good, and the next day the Hua family are faced with devastation and tragedy. The males of the family are forced into exile. The women and children are stripped of title and money and have to figure out a way forward in life, starting from scratch with nothing to their name. They are also sort of exiled from society because of this, and isolated. Hua Zi steps up and builds her family and their lives up again after hardship and work. She meets Gu Yangxi along the way, and together they face these obstacles together along with her family. So this drama stars Zhang Ji, who plays the titular Hua Zi, and Hui Tian, as I say it if I'm not reading it, who plays Gu Yangxi. And then supporting roles are played by Caesar Wu, Lu Yu Zhao, Bian Chen, Mioli Wu. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of these. Eddie Ko, Yang Min Na. I mean, there's a lot of people in this supporting cast, because in my mind, yes, there's a male lead and a female lead, but it's really an ensemble cast because her family is a major part of this story, along with his, I would say. So Zhang Ji, you might recognize her from Reborn or Fall in Love. I'm sure a lot of people know her from Lighter and Princess. I'm sure that's probably her most famous drama. Hui Tian, I mean, what hasn't this dude done? Go Squid 2, My Roommate is a Detective is one of my favorite of his. He was in Handsome Sibling. He's been around for quite a while. Caesar Wu, you might know him from dramas like Shining for One Thing or Meteor Garden. Some other prominent characters, Lu Yu Zhao. If you hear my cat in the background, I apologize. I don't know what she's doing this morning. I don't know, singing to her ancestors. I'm not really sure what she's doing. Anyway, Lu Yu Zhao. You might recognize her from My Journey to You. She was fantastic in that. No Boundary, The Longest Promise. Other people might recognize. I mean, you'll recognize a lot of people. If you're a Chinese drama watcher, you'll recognize people in this drama. There's just a lot of people in this cast, especially with the family. Anyway, so the leads are played by Zhang Jingyi and Hui Tian. Some supporting people are Caesar Wu and Lu Yu Zhao. Bian Chen is also a prominent support character. He was in dramas such as Ice Fantasy Destiny, Serenade for Peaceful Joy, I think is probably his most famous one. Shining for You as well. So it's a big cast. There's 2 main leads, obviously. There's a second lead couple, and then there's her entire family, and her entire family is big. His family is not as big, but it's a big cast. So that's my introduction of this drama. So my overall review of this drama. The Chinese drama is a solid C-drama. It isn't the best Chinese drama I've ever seen in my life, but it has some really good moments. There's a lot about Blossoms Universities that are good about it, and then there's things that I wish were different, which we'll go and talk about in the spoiler section of this review. Overall, as I said though, this is a solid Chinese drama. If you watch this one, you will definitely enjoy it. You might not like it for reasons you think you will, but you can find a lot of things in this drama to enjoy. So that is my overall review of the drama, my introduction to the drama. This is a historical Chinese drama, 40 episodes. So this is your spoiler warning. We are now moving into spoiler territory. Beyond this point, I will be talking about things that happen in the drama. If you do not want to be spoiled on plot points or characters or anything like that, please go and watch this drama and come back and listen to my review now. So this is your spoiler warning. So first, we're going to talk about what I loved about this drama. And there are quite a few things I did like about this drama, so there's a lot to talk about. A major highlight for this drama is the female lead. I absolutely loved her. I'm sure if you guys watch this drama, you will also like her a lot, but she was definitely a highlight for me. As I said, Zhang Jingyi plays the female lead. She's fantastic in this drama. Her acting is great. She portrays the character very well. Her character is just so strong and goes through so many hardships and struggles in this drama. And she is smart and outspoken and really cares for her family, even if at the beginning her family doesn't really like her. I wouldn't say her family's cruel or anything, but apparently, according to the story, her character grew up being able to travel with her grandfather, and you can kind of see that because of this, the rest of her family doesn't really see her as a proper lady, because she wasn't essentially trained to be a lady, and which is why she's outspoken and more of quote unquote rambunctious. So at first her family's she's never gonna get married, no one's gonna like that type of thing. But it plays into their favor when they lose everything and they have to be quick on their feet and figure out how they're gonna survive when they're starting from nothing. So her character, and because they're starting from nothing, they have to go through a lot of obstacles and have a lot of hardships. So the fact that her character persevered through all those things and comes out on top, you'll love her overcoming all of those obstacles and figuring out how she can get past those obstacles. And she just proves she's very smart and also willing to get her hands dirty as long as her family survives. Which again, kind of her family at first doesn't like that. There was a time at the beginning that they were selling essentially candy and baked goods on the street, and her family, coming from a family of nobility, they like could never have imagined doing that. And she herself and the servants are going out and doing this stuff. At first, the family is like, we're like tainting our name. We're never going to be able to get back to like high society because of this. And then they become a business family, eventually selling these treats and clothing and whatever in shops and restaurants. So if it wasn't for Hua and her tenacity to get her hands dirty and like figure out ways to make money, her family would not survive. And eventually her family does understand that, but it took them a while because they were like, noble people don't do this type of stuff. And the other thing is, because she's so outspoken and tells people like it is, she'll let people know, even her family members. She'll give them a reality check and be like, dude, like if you want to eat tomorrow, we're going to have to make some money somehow. Basically telling them they need to get off their high horse and do something to survive. So that was a really refreshing take for someone to be in a drama, and for the female lead to be that was really nice. But yeah, she's smart, she's a good leader, she's a businesswoman. I think also because she was like somewhat of the young, like she was a daughter, she wasn't even a wife in this family, and she kind of took the leadership role of this family. A lot of people pushed back as well, especially some of the wives at first, because they're like, you're a daughter, like, you're not even supposed to be bossing us around and everything. Like, how dare you? That type of thing. So that had to be dealt with as well. But yeah, it was just fun to watch her character go through this drama. And I also love that she like treated everyone equally. Like, so the family loses all their money and they have to move out to this like quote unquote countryside house outside of the city that they live, because they can't afford the house they lived in the city. So they're all there, everybody in the household, including like servants. And it's a big enough house, that's fine. But eventually they realize they can't afford the servants. So they have to decide, like, are they going to sell the servants and like get some money off of it? One of the wives had to do it to get some money, and because that was the only way they can think of to make money. This was before they started the business or anything. Hua eventually decided to just give the contracts back to the servants and say, okay, essentially, we don't own your contracts anymore, so we don't have to pay you in terms of servant fees. They didn't really get paid, they were servants. So she gave them the decision to leave and go find money elsewhere or stay with the family and start up this business and be paid a wage. They were employees after that. And that essentially showed them who actually cared about the family, who was there to support them, and who just like wanted to take advantage of the situation. But the fact that she like even thought of handing these contracts back to the servants and giving them the option of leaving because they couldn't afford them anymore and would have to sell them, she didn't see them as servants. She saw them as equals and like gave them the opportunity to be better than just a servant in their lifetime. And that was just like, I just love that part because everybody else kind of couldn't fathom doing that, and also couldn't fathom like living without a servant. But they had to get a major reality check that they had to take care of themselves or they would never survive. It was just heartwarming too, because a lot of these servants had been there for a very long time. So they stayed with the family and helped out and became employees and essentially became main characters within this family. And just showed that the family not only had to care for the people by blood in this family, but also eventually their servants and employees, quote unquote. So Hua was just like a really easy character to love. Like, you fell in love with her, you fell in love with her personality, you fell in love with her actions, and it was just so fun to watch her and to like build, like come into her own and become this leader in her family and support her family, despite at the beginning like her family wasn't like the worst historical family I've ever seen. Like, I've seen Chinese dramas with like these harem like families where there was multiple wives and concubines, and they were just going at it. They hated each other. I wouldn't say her family was that bad at the beginning, but there were definitely some people who did not like each other, but nothing like hate or anything. But they just had to have a serious reality check on what was expected of them after they lost everything, and they couldn't be on their high horse expecting someone to brush their hair anymore. So her character was just a lot of fun. I loved watching her character. The other thing that I liked, or another thing I liked in this drama, was the change you see. I was talking about a little bit with Hwaza. So, as I said, at the beginning, the Hua family was like the normal historical C-drama family with concubines and wives and husbands and children all living together. And then everything falls apart and the women and children have to fend for themselves. So you have women of all ages who've only known this life. And there's like women easily in their 50s and 60s, women who are probably in their 20s, maybe 30s, children and wives. And so they are also all of a sudden like thrust into a life where they can't afford servants, they can't afford the clothes they wear, they can't like even afford the house they live in. They have a matriarch grandmother. They basically have to figure out what they're going to do when everything they've ever known and are used to is now taken away from them. They basically had to take away this like familial structure and hierarchy that was in there because they had concubines and wives and put everybody on an equal playing field. And the women had to learn to accept that this was an equal playing field now. Like they had to get off, as I said, I know I keep saying this, they had to get up. The wives had to get off their high horses and be able to work with the concubines. Specifically one. There was one prominent concubine that became a major character, but they had to accept that they were starting over. They had to accept that they had to get their hands dirty. They had to play their part within this family to survive, whether that is like helping with making desserts or helping them make clothing, whatever. So I loved watching these various women and children too transform from what they were like at the beginning of the drama to what they were by the end of the drama. And I think pretty much every prominent character in this family, you had a change, maybe big, maybe small, from the beginning to the end. You had some servants who were no longer servants become like renowned cooks and get married and be able to start their own business even away from the Hua family business. You had wives who have never been away from their husbands and didn't even know what to do, and they're easily in their 50s and 60s and like basically wanting to kill themselves at the beginning of the drama because they like did not know what they were going to do, accept and kind of thrive in this business like environment that they built for themselves by the end. So it was really rewarding to see this family succeed by the end because you saw their struggles from the beginning, middle, and then the end of the drama. And it also like brought out personalities. Like these women discovered things they liked doing or realized they were good at. Like there was this one wife who it was kind of revealed throughout the drama that she was kind of she viewed herself as a lower wife than others because she came from like a merchant family versus a noble family. That whole conversation, it was kind of proven that like they never viewed her that way, but she kind of viewed herself that way. So she always viewed herself as a second tier wife. But because she came from a merchant family, she helped a lot with the accounting and the household stuff, but she also had to accept she couldn't do everything, and people had to make her realize that. So there were a lot of lessons learned within this family, which again was just fantastic to watch, and it was just transformative for these characters. Like at the beginning, multiple women refused to do work or do anything because they had servants. So they wanted to send out their servants and do everything. But eventually the servants were like, we're not there anymore. Like, you gave us our contracts back, or you can't afford us. I definitely will say there were some episodes where I was really mad at some of these wives at the beginning of the drama, because I was like, you need to get something hit over the side of your head to tell you to work, or just need a hard reality check. But due to Huaze and other things that they had to face, they did get that reality check, definitely. But yeah, overall, this drama was just full of really strong women characters who overcame the obstacles together and supported each other. And it was just a lot of fun to watch these women. Like, it was a lot of satisfying outcomes you got with this family. And speaking of the family, the Hua family relationships also were a lot of fun to watch. I mean, this is a family that you will root for, that you want them to succeed. And so I'm a sucker for this type of historical Chinese drama, a Chinese drama where it centers around these concubines, wives, inner workings of a family. I need to watch more of them. You get to see like each part of the family and the character, how they interact with each other, how hierarchy works, especially if there's concubines and wives. So this was sort of refreshing when you took all of that away. And then they had an even playing field, and they had to face these obstacles together, no matter if they were first wife, second wife, third wife, concubine, servant. Like, they were all just a bunch of women living together. And so it was interesting for their characters to realize that, and to like realize that they had to rely on people that they normally wouldn't have a equal playing field relationship with if they still had their money and power. And you got to see these relationships form between the wives and other servants who essentially started working together day in and day out on like the account books or in the kitchen or something. Or you got to see an older wife, like the first wife, really bond with the youngest wife who was having a child, and this was her first child ever and didn't know what to do, didn't have her husband there to support her. So when she did give birth, apparently in the drama, like, no one's allowed in the room. But due to her not wanting to be alone, the first wife, who normally this is like very out of her personality and comfort zone, she doesn't like to rock the boat really. She like bursts into this room and helps this fourth wife, fifth wife, youngest wife through this childbirth. And like, everybody was so surprised by this because it was so out of character for her. And just, it was a really, really beautiful story, just having all of these women kind of live together and support each other eventually, no matter what class they were. And that also developed their own individual storylines with this family. So you had multiple, like with the children, you had multiple friendships and relationships and romances going on. You had friendships within the wives going on. You had a little drama here and there with the concubines and wives, but then they eventually bonded. Like, there were a lot of good individual storylines within this family, within this household, that kept you rooting for them or wanting to know more about these characters. So this essentially, like, as I said earlier, like with the romance, with the two leads, there was romance, like, especially within the two leads. I would not classify this as a romance drama. Like, this, the trailers definitely showed that it should be a romance drama, and it is, but I think they marketed this for a romance drama. It really isn't. That's not the focal point of this drama. The focal point of this drama is this family and what they did to survive and how they overcame all these obstacles. That is my favorite part of this drama, the family, and how they went from nothing to being a very powerful merchant business family in this city that no one thought they would be that. Like, everybody thought they like lost everything and they would never see them again. So if you're going in here thinking, oh, we're going to have this epic romance, it'll be great, you get romance, but I wouldn't say that's the like biggest part of this drama. Like, that's not, I still enjoyed the romance, but it's not the main reason why I love this drama so much. But yeah, going back to the Hua family, you learn a lot about this family as it goes along. You learned about the hierarchy with the family and what all the women thought about each other, and then everything goes away and it collapses and they're all on equal playing fields. And then you really know what people thought about each other because there's some secrets in the family that were never revealed, and those eventually are revealed. I don't want to reveal those secrets, but that this one secret between a concubine and a wife was really, A, it was surprising. I didn't expect it. B, it was a heartbreaking to watch, but also kind of heartwarming at the same time, because eventually this concubine and wife, mainly the wife was the issue. The wife really accepted this concubine into her family as, like, quote unquote an equal, and then the child that was involved also accepted that he had this woman in this life that he wanted to know more about. I'm really not trying to I don't want to reveal this one secret because it was really surprising when it came out. I'd never seen it in a drama before. I'm sure there is dramas like it, but I don't want to reveal it. But that story within itself was really interesting to watch. I really enjoyed that. It created a lot of conflict within the family, and it was surprising because wasn't expecting it. But that whole story was really nice to watch. And then also, like, within these women, you really learned about the women too, like who stepped up and supported each other, who had conflicts and then resolved it. The one relationship that was interesting was, as I mentioned this before, Hwaza and the relationship with her family. I mean, as I said, she essentially was like an outcast at first in the beginning of the drama because she liked to read. Her grandfather kind of doted on her. She traveled a lot. But then her family had to kind of rely on her. And so their relationships kind of changed from envy and wanting to make her feel inferior to admiration and love, especially after she there was this one of the scenes that made me really not like the wife and her mother too. This was her mother. Is they tried, like, I understood why they did this, but at the same time I'm like, how can you be so stupid? They essentially were like sending the male members of the family off to the north, and they were allowed to give clothing and stuff to them before they left. And one wife and mom and her mother decided to like sew in some money into some of these clothes, and they were caught. So because of that, Hwaza was taken to essentially the jail and like beaten and punished for this because these men were supposed to be exiled with nothing. And essentially they were exiled because the emperor was afraid they were like having too much influence and power within the city, especially the grandfather, because the grandfather was a notable scholar. And then the grandfather also spoke up about some things in court that he probably should have not have commented on. So the emperor exiled them because he didn't want them to get a lot of influence and thought that they were trying to overthrow his power, which they weren't trying to do. But that's essentially why the males were exiled. So the wife and the mom sewed them into the clothing and they got caught. And Hwaza comes back injured, obviously. And she like can't understand how this money got into the clothing because the wife and the mother had done it secretly. They hadn't told anybody. So she thought like somebody had set them up and was like so angry, whatever. And then she finds out that this wife and her own mother did this. And she essentially like took the blame for her entire family. So all her family wouldn't have been injured. So after that happened, the family realized like they needed to treat her better, see her as this leader she was trying to be, and make her family survive, because if they didn't have her, they would all be in jail right now being beaten, and it was their fault essentially that she was injured at that moment. So it was like those little moments where I was like, how can you be so stupid? But understandable, they wanted to just like make sure their husbands survive. But yeah, after that moment, there was still like conflicts among the family members and servants and stuff, which kept the story going. But overall, after that, specifically that moment, it kind of changed the aspect of them seeing her as an equal and like needing her to survive and starting to care about her more and things like that. Overall, I just love the growth and the progression of all these relationships from the beginning to the end, from wives to their husbands, wives to the concubines, Hwaza to the rest of the family, servant to servant. Like, there was just so many relationships that you could become invested in and root for, and characters. Like, this was really an ensemble cast of characters that you wanted to survive and you wanted to see become women that were strong and were living to their fullest potential, including the servants and the wives. So, speaking a little of romance, essentially, like, this drama still had a romance. The leads had a romance. The second leads had somewhat of a romance. I wouldn't say it was like a full blown romance, but they still had some cute moments. And even though I said the romance was not like a focal point of this drama, it didn't, to me, it was kind of like a side story. It was still a comfortable romance. Like, there wasn't much conflict with it, there wasn't much angst with it. The two leads respected each other. One thing I loved about this couple was their communication. Like, there was barely any conflict with them because they communicated and allowed the other to give an explanation if a conflict did come up before they got mad and like walked off. So there was like, it was a mature romance that I enjoyed because there was this mutual respect, and the leads didn't have this explosive chemistry or anything, but it was a comfortable, easygoing romance. So with all of the other conflict happening within the family, that was a nice reprieve. And maybe that was written that way. I mean, it was very clear Hwaza kind of approached the male lead, Guyanji, as an escape, like as a way to get away from the hardships her family was going, needing advice maybe, or just like a quiet place to go from her entire family that was always hustling and bustling. It wasn't like this like over the top dangerous romance like we get in other historical C-dramas, but it was more of a break from all of the other stuff that was going on with the family, which was nice. It was nice. But if you're going into this drama wanting like this really epic years long romance that like has a lot of angst and like makes you just root for the couple, you're not going to get that here. It's really, you will still root for the couple, but you're mainly also rooting for her family and herself. So I wouldn't say, you're not going to get this like epic historical romance in this drama. So don't, and it was marketed that way. And I feel like they marketed it wrong. But it was still a nice romance. It was still a romance that supported the main story, which was this family. All right. Another thing I liked about this is it's mostly due to the female lead not seeing class, that because most of these women in her family started off with nothing. As I said, they're on an equal footing as the servants or as the concubines or as other wives. So the female lead did not see hierarchy or class due to her traveling a lot. So when the entire family had to start over and like rely on each other, the whole family had to accept that they would not keep that same hierarchy structure and just live together and survive. So they supported each other and they worked together. If it was like, even if it was like a wife working in the kitchen with the servant, or Hwaza going out with a servant to sell candy, or one of the wives doing the accounting and teaching the other servants to read and write and then help them with accounting, and eventually passing off the accounting to the servants who are now like employees. Like, one of my favorite parts was just like the servants were given equal footing and trained and being like learning to read and write and being able to gain the skills to either walk away from the family and start their own business, or go back to their family because they might have, I don't know, been sold off by their family and wanting to go back to them now as a free agent and not having to live their entire lives away from their family. Essentially allowed the servants to choose their life. And the family learned who would be helpful to them and pay them a wage. And it gave us as audience members to root for more people, have more storylines within this family, have more women working together to find this happiness for themselves. So you got some really nice scenes and conversations between the wives and daughters and the free servants, the now freed servants, the concubines and everything, because they were all on this equal footing and they were all supporting each other. So I love that it was like this drama was like a female-centered, woman supporting women drama, that which I know I've like talked about a lot. All right, 2 more things that I liked about this drama. Lack of love triangle. I hate love triangles. I really do. Sometimes they're good because it just gives a lot of drama, but I essentially hate them at the same time because I'm just like, dude or gal, you know you're not going to be the chosen one. It's very rare that the second male lead or second female lead is chosen. I've seen it done. I definitely have, but it's very rare. To have a writer, like I now kind of see love triangles a lot of the times as like lazy writing. Like you have this happy couple going to the end of the drama, and then to add one last conflict, they add an ex coming back, you know, that type of thing. Most of the time, it's not needed. Most of the time. Thankfully, blossoms in adversity. At the beginning, you think there's going to be a love triangle, but thankfully, it does not have a love triangle, and I loved it. I absolutely did. I was so happy to see Caesar Wu's character like kind of bow out of the picture and then kind of still support her family as like a friend, and as like his character was part of another prominent family in the city, so they needed his family's support, and so him and his brother essentially went against his father's wishes and supported this family through various means. Like he offered them some money sometimes. He like used his influence on some things, like, and it was essentially him doing it as a friend. Like, yeah, he still probably still liked her and they were engaged at the beginning of the drama, and she had to come in and say, "Hey, like my family just lost everything. It's okay if you don't want to marry me. Like you don't have to marry me. I understand." And she essentially like gave up the engagement herself. So it was just really refreshing because you started this drama thinking it was going to be a love triangle, and it definitely wasn't, and I love that. Okay. So the last thing I really liked is the acting. Overall, I thought the acting was pretty good. I thought the male lead could have acted better at some times, but he wasn't horrible either. So it wasn't like, oh my God, this is the worst acting job I've ever seen in my life. No. I mean, I think he was a little stiff sometimes, but overall, he wasn't bad. I've seen worse in other dramas. Not him, but like I've seen other actors act way worse than he did. I love the actresses though, especially during like the emotional scenes. They had a lot of emotional scenes in general, but they just did a fantastic job acting within these emotional scenes. And I definitely teared up on multiple occasions. Like, for example, when the grandmother died, I was just like bawling my eyes out in the living room. I think the acting within the emotional scenes also allowed me to connect with these female characters more because they showed another side of themselves than just like, I'm a wife of this prominent family, or I'm a concubine, or I'm a servant. Like, I love when you have these scenes that are show another side, another note of these characters, whether that's anger because they were facing another obstacle when they just overcame the last one, or when somebody gets hurt or somebody dies or somebody whatever. So I think the acting in this is pretty good. Could have been better with some people, could have been worse though. So overall, I think they did a great job in the acting department. Okay, So now I'm going to move on to what could have been better, in my opinion. One, I think this could have been like 5 episodes shorter. I remember I got to like the last 10 episodes and the family again faced another obstacle and kind of was starting over. They like lost everything 3 or 4 times in this drama and had to start over again. And so by the time they like lost everything for the 4th time, I was just like, do they really need to lose everything again? Like why is this family getting so much stuff thrown at them? And I think it was essentially to get to 40 episodes. So I think they could have done away with one of the starting over moments. Like they lost their money at the beginning. They had a fire in one time, and then there was another thing that happened too. And that 3rd time, essentially, they like almost got exiled again due to like something else. So there was just one too many times that they had to start over. They could have cut one of those out and still been fine. Another thing could have been better, as I said, this is not the best romance ever. Like, if you're looking for a steamy, chemistry-filled romance, they had chemistry. I've seen better. I've seen better romances, better written romances, better acted romances. Like, it's just, I think it's mainly because this drama, the focal point of this drama was not the romance. So the drama didn't put in all the effort it could have. It was still nice. Like, you still rooted for this drama. And also, this drama had multiple couples. So you had that going for it too, because you not only had the lead couple, but you had second lead couple and some couples that were going on with the servants and the sisters and whatever. You still could root for this couple. But if you're looking for like very angsty, steamy, chemistry-filled romance that like essentially is epic and the couple would die for each other. Like, I'm trying to think of an example that I've watched. Like, Till the End of the Moon. Like, that couple, if you're looking for that type of couple, you're not going to get it here. But, as I said again, it was very clear this story, the romance was not the main important plot point. It was the family. So, I can see why it's not the best romance ever because it wasn't written to be. It was a side story. It was something to also root for along with the family drama that was going on. So the romance is very tame. I think there's only like one kiss. It's not even that, like, it's not that steamy either. Like, nothing really happens except for good communication and them supporting each other. So just FYI. It's still nice. It's still comforting to watch. It's just don't go into it thinking it's going to be the best romance you've ever seen in your life. Okay. Another big thing I have to talk about is the ending. I definitely would have changed some things about the ending. First off, the emperor. Like, I feel like they wrote the emperor to be the bad guy by the end, or to like revealed to be the bad guy, and then something changed in the last 10 episodes. Like, I hated the emperor the entire drama. Like, I understand he was the uncle of the male lead and the male lead loved him, but you could tell the male lead even was conflicted with some of the decisions the emperor made. And I feel like the drama was writing the emperor to be the bad guy, and then something happened and they decided last minute not to make him a bad guy. It's just I didn't understand that, because all of a sudden he was like dying in this emotional scene, and I'm like, I feel like he should have, like, the male lead should have killed him or something. I feel like this story should have gone way differently than it did. Also, the male lead supported him too much. He supported his poor choices. He, like, you could tell he didn't agree with them, but then he still did it. And, like, mostly didn't speak up about it. And also, I feel like they were writing this emperor to become a mad king. I feel like they were writing this emperor to have this explosive, crazy ending, and then that just didn't happen. Because as the drama went along, he got crazier and crazier and more paranoid, and then nothing happened because of it. And then they just made his other sons, because essentially the male lead wasn't his son, it was like a nephew or something. His sons were the made to be the bad guys, which they weren't good guys either. Like they were also portrayed as bad guys at the beginning, but I feel like the writers just decided not to go that extra step and also make the emperor the bad guy. I didn't like that. I wanted him to be, I wanted a satisfying ending for him. And the fact that he died in bed due to like a wound that he got and the male lead crying over him, like I was not satisfied with that ending, because I don't think it just, with the story and how it was going, I was like, I don't understand how we got to this ending at all. I wanted to see the emperor punished, because I mean, I might be biased. I didn't like him. I didn't like him, really. The other thing I would say about the ending, I wanted one more episode where the family just reunited and seeing that played out. Like, it happened in the last episode, but I wanted to see more of like what the men did to fit back into this business family, because we got the reunion, but then we kind of just like moved forward to the future and they were like living their lives. I wanted to see them having to deal with coming back to a family of women who had been surviving on their own for a year, however long they were gone. Because like one scene I did not like was when Hwasa went to visit the males up north. The one and only time I guess she went up, because anyway, she went up north to give them supplies, give them an update on what was going on in the family. And men were adamant that the women could not survive without them. And like they couldn't believe that the women were working and surviving. And like thoughts were going through their heads of, what the hell were you doing for work to like make this money? Which was like understandable, obviously. I understood why they said it, but it would have been really satisfying to see them come back and like see all the work and all of the things that came out of their hard work, and how they had these thriving businesses, and how this whole experience changed their wives and daughters. And we didn't really get that. It kind of just skimmed over all of it. And I really wish there was more of that, of the reunion, of them learning what they've been doing for the last year and a half. And also, it would have been nice to, because I'm assuming they wanted to come in and they were like, okay, the men are back, you don't have to do any of this. It would have been nice to have a scene where the wives were like, no, I'm still working. Like, I'm still running this business. I don't know what you're talking about. Because I did not like the fact that males were like, oh, they can't survive without me. How, like, they were just so surprised. I get it. I get the reaction. But it would have been a more satisfying ending of them realizing that they did survive. And now I have to figure out my place in this family again, when these women are now strong, surviving women running a business. So, because I don't think, I mean, they didn't let go of the business once they got their house back. So it would have been nice. It would have been nice. The last thing I will say, I felt like I was missing something with the sister. So Hui Tian's character, Gu Yangxi, had a sister, Xiao Yao, played by Liu Yu Xiao, who, fantastic actress. She did great in this drama. I feel like I was missing something with her story. I don't know if I missed an entire explanation of like what happened, or I don't really know. Like, we got the explanation of what happened to her and why she was traumatized. Like, I got the fire thing. I guess I thought there was something more than that, more than just the fire thing and her seeing something. I don't know. I think I missed something. I also thought her ending would be different, and we would see her, like, she did overcome her trauma. I guess I made assumptions about her character, and when I didn't get the ending I assumed her character would be, I thought I was missing something. So, I don't know. I personally think we were missing something from her storyline that we never got at the end, but I really don't know what, because I feel like we were missing something with her and her brother's family story in general. But again, really don't know what we would be missing. But I didn't think her family or the male lead's family's story, I was not satisfied with that ending, because I felt like something was missing. And It also was resolved really early on, like a lot earlier than I thought it would be. But essentially, I'm assuming it was resolved due to what else was going on in the story and the ending of the story. So I don't know. I thought something was missing with the story, with the sister and essentially her brother and their family, and where that story went. I couldn't tell you what I thought, what I wanted that ending to be. And I couldn't tell you what I thought, what was missing, but something was off in that storyline for me. I don't really know. But yeah, that's my review of The Blossoms University. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. If I know a lot of people have watched this drama, so let me know what you think of my review. Let me know what you thought of this drama. Let me know if you agree with my review. Let me know some things you loved about this drama or some things you did not like about this drama. I want to have a conversation about Blossoms and Diversity. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed my review. I swear I will be getting to other reviews for dramas in the future. I still have my list. It's funny because I have like everything planned out until like March of next year. And for some reason, a lot of my reviews aren't on that list. I don't know how that happened. I really don't. But I will eventually be getting to dramas and reviewing them. I mean, I have reviewed more dramas within like the podcast / blog since I started this blog. So I just want to continue that. Like this podcast has made me review more dramas than I normally have in the past on the blog. So I want to continue doing that. So don't worry, your dramas that you've requested will eventually be turning into reviews. But thank you for listening to this review of Blossom of Diversity. As I said, 8.5 out of 10. You can watch it on VIKI right now. That's where I watched it. It is a Yoku drama, so you could also watch it on there. Thank you for listening, and bye. If you want to continue the conversations about dramas that were started in this episode, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter under the username NoSleep4Dramas. That is NoSleep4 Dramas, just like in the title of the podcast. This podcast is also an expansion of my blog, so you can visit my blog at www.NoSleep4Dramas.com, the number 4dramas.com, and find multiple years of blog posts already available at your fingertips. All links are in the description of this episode. This has been an episode of the No Sleep for Dramas podcast, and I am your host, Caitlin. I will see you here next time, and I hope you get no sleep chasing the next episode just like me. Good night.